Hello, and welcome to the latest edition of Business Brew, the podcast brought to you by BUSINESSiQ here at the Northern Echo. Very special guest today, Bill Scott, CEO of the Wilton Group. Hello, Bill. How are you?
Yes, good morning, Mike. Or good afternoon, Mike. Yeah, I'm really good, thank you.
Good. You're looking very well, mate, I must say.
Thank you.
Setting a fine example to all of us. Give me a little update on the company. Let's talk a little bit about Wilton. How are things going at the moment there?
Really good. Busy. We got some fairly substantial contracts in, which are long term, which is always good. Yeah, we were struggling a little bit to employ more people because people is a big issue with most companies at the moment. But
Sure.
That seems to have settled down now a little bit, so that's good.
Good. I think that, as you suggested, then that the sort of long-term visibility of work is just so important now. If you know how you can plan your company, your intake, and that for a few years' time, that's a real bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite special, to be fair. That the fact that we have that visibility in the long term, which is priceless, really.
Yeah, I think last time we talked, perhaps we touched on the company's latest results doing, strong performance. A lot of that to do with this sort of diversification. And I suppose even though it's such a big company now, Wilton, it has to have that sort of agility to look at its landscape, see what's going to change. You've moved quite a lot towards the defence side of things, but being able to move around, I suppose, gives you that visibility and a little bit of. It's not a matter of not putting all your eggs in one basket, I suppose. As simple as that, is it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think primarily in the initial stages of our business, it was oil and gas and subsea systems.
Sure.
And that was like that for quite some time. I would say 80%, 90% of our business was in that sort of field. When the oil and gas crash happened, 2013-14, we had to diversify quite quickly into something, and we looked at, who are we as a business? What are we? What are we good at? What's our USP? And challenged ourselves to really get under the skin as to what we could do going forward. And we identified that simply that in a very short sort of statement that we were probably experts in building large, complicated structures.
Sure.
Our USP. So Michael Fallon asked me what our USP was, and I said, that's really quite easy. We don't deliver by road, which is quite.
Yeah.
We only deliver by sea.
Yeah.
We deliver by road because obviously some of the things we build are always quite significantly large, and it was who needs things of scale, which market needs things of scale and size, quality, and something that's really difficult to manufacture, which is what we love doing. So we looked at nuclear. That was going to be a long game.
Sure.
To get through all the quality procedures, etc. Defence, that was going to be a long game too. And but again, we talked about procedures, and actually, if nobody doesn't know of you in that market, it takes a long time to break in and show your worth, if you like. And then the offshore wind industry did offer that possibility. It was fairly young as an industry at that time. We did a lot for the offshore oil and gas industry, and we thought we could bring something really special to that industry, which is what we did. So, yeah, it's interesting.
So once you build your reputation in something like that, it's there. You're on people's radar. That's a good defence example to use. You're on people's radar. So when they want to do a little business, you say, "Yeah, we now look at this now," and they look at your track record. They think, "Okay, yeah, it's worth talking to this guy."
Yeah. And that's what it was. And even so, what it was, I actually took the mantle, if you like, to look after to break into the offshore wind industry, and our little hero Kev, who's our business development ambassador, he took on the long-term role of breaking into defence and into nuclear. Right. Nuclear was a step too far. It was we can build things really quickly, but they've got to take those things that we build, then stress test them, go over and over and over and over them to make sure they're absolutely
Sure.
right, fit and true for purpose.
Yeah.
So typically, if we built something for nuclear, we could build that item, and then they might want that factory to review its status of what the thing does, and do the stress testing on it for up to 5 years. They were telling us that there's a story that there's somewhere in Birmingham where the completed module has been in the factory for nearly 15 years, and they've rewired it twice. That's and I just explained, look, I'm sorry, we're just not the company for you. We to make it viable for us, it's got to come in and out.
Yeah, gosh.
Interesting dynamic though.
Yeah, I bet. Answer a really it's what seems like a simple question, probably isn't. Do things like a change of government when you're in that sort of defence area, does that make a lot of difference, or do you sort of hold your breath a bit to see what they're going to do with that?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question, that one. So if you look back to when the Conservatives were in government, they committed to 2.5% GDP, and I think Labour agreed with that figure. And I feel like now there's a bit of a rhetoric around that they're looking for value for money for that 2.5%.
Yeah, sure.
And which is fair and right to do, I guess. And so obviously from our point of view, it's really important that and for the continuous at sea defence, that 2.5% becomes a reality.
Yeah. While we're on government as well, what's your my own take on the new combined authority is it's the general as a principle. Of course, it's a good thing because the region together is so much stronger than the region in pieces. As a businessman, do you take that same sort of view that it's easier to deal with people and get things sorted because there's more of a sort of focal point?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I'm really pleased with is that we now have 3 regions which we actually sit on against each border, if you like. So we've got the Northeast, we've got Teesside, Tees Valley, then you've got Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So got 3 metro mayors all joined up, and if they can all have the joined up thinking and work out how we can work together better, it would be, I think, quite a strong offering. If you look at the likes of Manchester, Liverpool, how they've joined up, it's quite a strong message, I think. One of the things I did like actually was that when Keir Starmer got into power, one of the first things he did was get all of the metro mayors together.
Yeah.
And Ben Houchin, he was at an event that I was actually speaking to a couple of weeks ago, and he explained that Ben had been invited to go along half an hour before all the others turned up because he's the only Conservative.
Of course, yeah.
And I think it was basically to say, look, putting parties aside, the thing is that you are the mayor, and that all the mayors have got to work together, and that for the betterment of everybody. So I thought that was really positive.
Yeah, I did sort of feel for Ben when he saw the sort of the group photos. But as you say, it's party-wise, it's a little bit awkward. But if you've really got the region at your heart and you each just really want to work for what's the best, then you have to, you've got to knock on someone else's door sometimes and say, let's have that conversation.
Yeah, I think the bigger picture is put the party or put the colour to one side. You're there to serve the business community, stroke, the wider population, to do the right thing. And I think if they work together, we should see some really astounding things coming out of it.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. I think Kim McGuinness has definitely got her work cut out for her with such powerful areas to deal with. But we're on the road now. We've started, so we'll all support her as much as she wants, of course.
I think all 3 mayors, they've all got strength in depth, and I think that as I said earlier on, combined, working off each other and learning. And obviously Ben's got the advantage. He's been doing it for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And you look at what he's achieved, and it's quite staggering, really.
Yeah, no, it could be interesting times again, Bill. We think we've sort of lived through so many of them. We've seen it all, and then there's a sea change like this. And you think, God, there's even more this region can do. It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
We also talk with the likes of Ben and Kim about sort of leadership and the power of leadership, having the right person saying the right sort of things. I mean, always intrigued by you, Bill, and what sort of leader you are, because you have that sort of, it's an instinctive respect for you and for what you do. And we see you out and about at so many awards ceremonies and so many sort of business events. What sort of a leader can you categorize yourself? Are you a hard guy, the softer? Are you a delegator? Are you a hands-on? What's your secret, Bill?
Yes, to all of that.
Yes, to all of it.
Yes, to all of that. So it's about you can't be hard, you can't be soft. I mean, I'm talking about all the time now. You've got to have a good team behind you. I think anybody that's successful, their team, they owe a lot to their team. I think that's really key. But you've got to be hard at some point. And sometimes you've got to make some tough decisions when they need to be made. There's some people I used to talk about. There's some people say, well, how do you? So I think managing people is really important.
Yeah.
I used to play a lot of basketball, and there was I always remember the basketball coach saying that some of them need to kick up the arse, some need their arm around them, and some just don't need anything. They just do what they do best, and I think that's probably sums it up. You've got to understand what the people are like and what they need. Some need to be steered, some just know what they're doing, they just go for it.
Yeah, it really is a jigsaw though, isn't it? I mean, I know that through my many years of sort of managing in newsrooms, that, as you say, you've got to identify those characters quite quickly, manage them without sort of disrupting the whole machine, the whole engine. You've got to be sort of bring them in and all play their part, not realize they're being managed, I suppose.
So I talk about jigsaw quite often. So imagine, you've got a 500-piece jigsaw. Now, say they're people, men and women, and you lose 1 or 2 pieces, the jigsaw doesn't work.
Yeah.
And in that jigsaw, they're all different. All the pieces are different. And then, so if you think about that as people within the business, every single person counts, and that's really, really, really important. So when you come to our facility, you'll meet Trevor. Trevor is on the gate. Right?
Yeah, I know Trevor, yeah.
Yeah, now he would literally jump in front of the car if you try to drive on without stopping. But he's the first person people see. He makes sure that you've got an appointment. He directs you, precisely to where you need to be on site. Then you come and meet Juliet, who then take you in. She'll explain stuff to you. You'll be taken somewhere else. It could be quality, could be health and safety, could be on the shop floor, could be the boardroom. But it's every single person that works here has a job to do. So I'm just one of hundreds. So I have a job to do. Whether you're a plater, you're a welder, whether you're in finance or you're in design or whatever it is, we've all got our own job to do, and it's so important to I think the key is to get them all to work together.
Yeah, and value what they do and realise that they're valued, whatever sort of.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing as well is people that are chiefs and Indians, and I often go into a lot of companies where there's too many chiefs. Because at the end of the day, I always say, listen, talk to, let's make it easy. Let's call them chiefs, right? You've got to really, look at those guys on the shop floor that are working day in, day out, building some really complicated structures. They're the ones who really do actually make a difference. You know, they're the ones who are under pressure to deliver. You know, so you got to, you know, put your arm around them and try and support them as much as you can.
Yeah, very rewarding when it goes right. Seeing someone progress through the ranks and feel that they're part of it is so rewarding, I find.
Yeah, so our first apprentice is sat underneath me at the moment. He's called Graham Brain.
There you go. Yeah.
He's so he is the construction manager for the whole company. So he's built some huge projects which weigh thousands of tons, and he started 30 years ago. The company's in its 30th year this year. He started as our first apprentice, and he's the, like you say, he's gone through the ranks, and he's right at the top.
Smashing. Did you always, 30 years ago, as you say, when it started, do you always have those principles when you set it up, that you wanted to make sure it was a place where people felt valued and where you could bring those skills together? Was that always in your mind?
That's an interesting question, that one. I'll tell you what. So when I was 22, 23, something like that, I got headhunted. And I was quite shocked because I said, "Are you sure you don't mean my dad? Because he's got the same name as me." Oh, sorry, I've got the same name as him.
Yeah.
So are you sure you? So it was back in the day when there was no mobile phones, and they'd rang the house, and they asked to speak to Billy. I was Billy because I was younger. He was Bill, right? So they explained what he was. He was a headhunter, and Mum didn't know what it was. So she passed the phone over to my dad, and he had no idea what he was talking about. So he passed the phone to me, and it actually turned out it was me being headhunted. So that was a really good, interesting scenario. So when I took the job up, it was really quite an interesting job. I ended up going offshore and being the superintendent offshore, installing the things that we'd made. And I watched how the senior management team worked, how they played out, how the directors worked. I saw them do some good things. I saw them do some bad things. I then got headhunted again. Then again, so 3 times I was headhunted. And each time I worked with the senior management team and also the directors. And like I said, I learned some good things, bad things from all of them. So what I thought I would do is, when we started our business, so I started with Steve Glenn, who was my first partner and still is now. In fact, I'm meeting him on Thursday. So we decided to put the good things in place and identify with the bad things. The bad things was as important as the good things, to make sure you didn't do what they did.
Sure.
So we, looking after the people. I mean, I was an apprentice. So I decided that, somebody gave me a chance. I worked hard and I got rewarded for it. So I thought, well, let's do some of that.
Fascinating. What about the sort of the supply into that sort of jigsaw that you're still building there, Bill? Is it a regular supply of the right skills? Or I know you got the Apprenticeship Academy going there. I know that's a sort of huge success, I think, because it's just such a direct line, and that's how I sort of viewing what one of the big challenges is getting each part of that pipeline.
Sure.
Unless you do it yourself, it can still be a bit of a challenge finding the right numbers at the right time.
Yeah, so we put the adverts out. We've had hundreds of people applying for positions. We've got all sorts of positions, including the on shop floor scenario, middle management, health and safety, quality. We've also got design engineering as well. So the design engineers, for example, what we do with them is we'll bring them in for interview, and then what we do is we offer them the chance to come to us, and they will do their degree with us. So they will work for 4 days in learning their trade, and then what they'll do then is go to university 1 day a week. So what we find is that they progress a lot quicker because they're learning the hands-on in terms of their design capability. Then they're learning the academic side at university. Although it takes a longer time, match for match, I think if you take someone at 21, 22, 23 that's worked here, they'll be much more advanced than somebody who's gone to university. They've got no fees to pay. They'll have no loans. They get paid a good wage whilst they're training as a design engineer. And and to be fair, if they've been trained here, they probably get a job anywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gives you a confidence then, because I talk to a lot of businesses now, particularly in the areas like around Teesworks that are changing so much with such high tech stuff coming in, and there seems to be a genuine slight alarm about making sure we've got the number of people with those cutting edge skills. But again, as I say, because you control it yourselves there, that gives you a sort of confidence, does it, for the future supply?
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, so if you go back over, I guess I explained there, our first apprentice was 30 years ago. And we've taken apprentices on every single year, apart from the 2 years when it was COVID.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the way we used to do it before was the old-fashioned way. So we'd bring somebody in, we give them the members go to a Hartlepool college probably for a year's experience, then they would come back to us, then we would put them with people. So those people would then put with somebody for a number of weeks and somebody else for a number of weeks, so they're learning off different people. So that was the old way. The new way is that we have our own trainers in, so we've got our own academy. So they go to college for a year, they come back here, and then they're trained in the academy. It's almost like, I don't know, say 10 to 1 or 7 to 1 or something like that. So they're being trained at a really high level. They are producing. So we're getting welders coming that have never welded, coming to our academy, and they're going in for their welding test after 16 weeks and passing. Yeah. So it's pretty damned impressive, and it's from our point of view, it's the absolute lifeblood of the future of the company. It's absolutely necessary for us to do this.
Yeah, it's good to see. I mean, we see you so often on social media and the likes with awards within the company, seeing certain people who've passed these awards and he's progressing. There seems just a genuine pride in the fact that someone's, and there may be the first or the second or the third of many stages they'll go through, but each time it's such a moment. And for them, of course, building their career, just so important.
So we've got guys that have come up their apprenticeship that have worked on the shop floor, and they might have come out and decided they want to go into dimensional control. So we're using some state of the art equipment to measure. So not using tape measures, using
I'm sure
using lasers now. Yeah. That'll give you a definition. So you can shine this laser at a beam, for example, or a piece of plate that's been shaped, and that laser could measure 20 parts of that in one go. We're using a system that whereby you can put the laser in the center of the room. The thing will turn around 90 seconds, and it'll give you a full analysis of everything. The first time we used it actually analysed the full project, the job that we're building. The door was open, right? It analysed and projected the building that it was in, and it analysed and projected the building that was outside. Yeah, bizarre. In 90 seconds,
Sheesh.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of level of skill these young people are getting now. There's absolute stuff that we couldn't have imagined that a few years ago, and now they're getting absolute up to the minute skills.
Oh no, that's right. Yeah. So I was speaking at one of the events for NOF just a few weeks ago. I talked about the advancement of the products that we're using, to do things quicker and smarter. Using projectors, for example. So we take a model and we take part of the model, and then we project that model through the projector onto the plate. So where it might take two guys, might be complicated. So two guys could spend, say, 2, 3, 4 days, maybe even a week together, marking off this plate with all these fancy shapes and everything. And the laser will do it in 5 seconds. It's
Yeah.
You know, it's a no-brainer. So
It's astonishing. I mean, the changes you must have seen in 30 years, that sort of thing, because it might have been even it started with a tape measure or something, not very much bigger 30 years ago. And
I
now,
remember being an apprentice, and the foreman came round, and I had the job of developing an obtruse cone, quite complicated, and
okay.
it was all about trigonometry, and also used to use the chalk lines. So I'd have an apprentice at the other end of the line, and he, you know, we said, right, move it along, you know, and you put chalk on the line, and then you
Yeah.
ping it, and
Yeah.
all those chalk lines. It was like it looked like a spider's web. And I always remember the farmer coming up and saying, "Do you know what you're doing there?" And I said, "I'll tell you what, if you have a go, you're welcome to. No, you're all right. I'll leave you to it." But it's gone from that to, you know, nobody does that anymore. That's just not a done thing. It's all done by a computer.
Yeah, it's amazing the changes we've all seen in our different industries.
Indeed.
What about you yourself, Billy, being there, doing it, well, obviously at Wilton for these 30 years and much before that? You happy with your sort of time of life? Are you
Yeah.
content sort of guy? Are you
Yeah, very content. So
yeah.
I, like I said earlier about the team. So I do an awful lot outside of the company, as you've probably seen
Yeah.
as well. So I'm an ambassador for NOF. I'm an ambassador for Stockton Borough Council. I'm an ambassador for the Entrepreneurs Forum. I've got my deputy lieutenant duties as well outside of work.
Yeah.
I'm also a patron of the Teesside charity, and I'm also a trustee for the Teesside charity. And I mentor so many other companies as well. Now I can't do that without the team here. Just let me go and do stuff, you know. So I can leave here and go and do all that, knowing that there's people here absolutely got the ambition and the wherewithal to do what we need.
Yeah, I mean that's a very fulfilling, I'd imagine, to have put all that work in, to have built the company up, even to have redirected it recently to different sorts of sectors, and then, as you say, to have such a team below you that you can say, yeah, today I'm going to provide a benefit to this charity or to that event. I'm going to give that a boost by going along.
Sure,
That's a smashing place to be, isn't it?
it's a great place to be. I mean, you talked about, you know, the people below me, but that's not actually the truth. The truth is we all sit at the same line. You know, so the one thing here, I won't be called boss. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. So as I explained earlier on, I've got a role to do, right? Which is that's as a CEO, and my role is no different to somebody else that's doing anything within a company. You know, so I don't like the word, I don't like to be called boss at all, ever. And
Right.
and there isn't anybody below me. We're all on the same level.
What a place to be at. I think you're a happy guy, Bill. And I think, as I say, we see you around so often in so many sort of events, and it's always a pleasure. I think because you have a confidence, you're relaxed enough, and I'm sure there's times when you're not relaxed, but you seem relaxed and content, and you've achieved so much that people want to come, well, they gravitate to you, I think. You may find that and say, how have you done it? How do you do it? I want a little bit of Bill Scott.
Yeah, I get that. I do get asked that question quite often, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, and I just said, just work hard, look after people, you know, try and give a bit back.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you know, I give a lot back, but that's because I can. I'm fortunate that way. But you know, if the trouble is that what I find quite often is it's a few people that do a lot, and if a lot did a little, it would be much better. And it's getting that people that don't actually contribute outside of anything, you know, they live in our little world and they don't do anything. You know, I'd love to see them doing a bit more.
Yeah, that's sort of brought us full circle, hasn't it? Because that's all about, as we talked about the mayors and combined authorities, that's all collaboration and teamwork. You know, you've got to work on your own thing, but I always think for like 95% of your time. But then you've got to have a time when you turn your chair around to a different table and you have a different conversation for the good of the region.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the key thing, you know. And I often talk about Teesside and the wider Northeast. That's what I talk about. So yeah, we're all in it together.
It's good to have you on the team, Bill. Listen, always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm very grateful that you've given us the time. I know you're a busy chap, but the chance to have a half-hour chat in your company is always a pleasure.
No, you're welcome, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Listen, many thanks. This is BUSINESSiQ's Business Brew podcast. Many thanks to Bill Scott for his time. Thank you, Bill, again. And hopefully we'll catch up soon, and we'll get another podcast done shortly. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.